What's up, 2K crew? We are coming to you on an amazingly beautiful weekend. 2Ks, I know that you got a lot done outside the house. I know everybody did. The whole town of Marcellus was just flooded with fucking lawnmowers and everything motorized going on. 2K crew, it's your boy Turbo. I got 2Ks on the horn. As always, you're seeing this lovely mug for another hour, but don't be too judgmental because this time next week, we're going to have a whole new studio backdrop. So keep that in mind because it's going to be kick ass. Well, 2Ks, are you ready to continue on this deep dive on the NFL draft, my friend?
Yes, sir.
All right. I know you're aching to talk about your Dallas Cowboys pick, but before we jump into this, let's pay, is all the other cool podcasters say, let's pay some bills. If you live in and or around Marcellus, give Drop Anchor Tavern a holler, 269-646-2525 on any of your curbside or takeout delivery or deliveries if you live within 5 miles of town. Give them a holler. Tell them that Turbo and 2K sent you because small business supports us and we support them. So get out, get a burger, get some chicken. It'll be amazing. Well, 2Ks, we kind of left the audience hanging on pick 17 last week, which is your Dallas Cowboys taking Mr. CeeDee Lamb from Oklahoma. So give us, since this is your team, give everyone your initial thoughts. Like when you heard they went receiver, what was the first thing that went through your mind?
Well, leading up to this entire draft, I mean, I've been talking on and on about how, Dallas, they have to go defense. They have to bring in defensive help because, I mean, let's be honest. Them not making the playoffs last year really had nothing to do with, their offense letting them down. It was mostly that their defense couldn't stop anybody. They were giving up, 30 points every single week. And, as well as I do, you're not going to win very many games when you're giving up that many points.
Not unless you have the Chiefs offense. But yeah, you're right.
Yes. But I mean, Kansas City's defense, they got a lot better, and that's the reason why why they won a Super Bowl last year, because their defense was much better than what it had been in years past.
Absolutely.
But getting back to the Cowboys pick, they went receiver. We all knew that the receiving class in this draft was probably one of the best years that we've seen ever as far as the draft class for wide receivers, and I had CeeDee Lamb I was in between on him being the number one overall receiver in this class, or I probably would have had him at number two. I think I had Jerry Jeudy number one.
And me too.
But to me, with the 17th pick, being able to land, one of the most talented players in the draft in CeeDee Lamb, I just think it was too good to pass up. I think that they wanted to, approach the defense. Obviously, the rest of the draft, that's what they did, was approach the defense. But I think, CeeDee Lamb, that name being there on the board with the 17th pick, it was too good to pass up. And I tell you what, their offense that potentially could be really, really scary next year with, especially with the three wide receivers that they have now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited about it. There was, some of the bigger names, defensive names, were already off the board that I really wanted them to go after. So when they made the pick on CeeDee Lamb, I got to be honest, I wasn't very upset about it.
I can't imagine you being too bummed about it. I mean, I have a feeling Jerry Jones is sitting on his just fabulous, amazingly stupid yacht doing this draft, which I totally feel so bad for him because he had to do it in his yacht and not not in Las Vegas. I mean, I'm sure he had to, he was grieving on the inside. But I just had a feeling it was one of those where it was, instead of taking something to fill a hole, you looked at it and went, well, shit, this is the best available. And they probably, and I myself thought both Lamb and Jerry Jeudy were going to go way higher than this. So to have him fall in your lap, I don't think you can't take him. I really don't. And is it a spot that they absolutely needed help with? Nah, probably not. But when you get a receiver like that could be, possibly a top 5 receiver in the next 2 years, I could totally see it. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if CeeDee Lamb is a top 5, fantasy receiver, yards, touchdowns, stuff like that. I could definitely see him, evolving into the number one on this team. But there,
Mhm.
like you said, there's two other guys there in Gallup and Cooper that they could be
Yep.
number ones anywhere else too. So to have
Yep.
possibly three number one receivers on your staff is amazing.
Yeah.
And
And the only thing that kind of makes me think a little bit is and don't get me wrong, I love having these three names as line up every week at receiver. But now, but seeing them get a CeeDee Lamb, and then you see what Gallup did for them last year, and the way he was coming around and kind of showing that he potentially could be a number one guy
absolutely.
for a lot of teams here, especially here in the future. Was it worth putting the amount of money that they did put into Amari Cooper? That's my question that I have. Could they have used some of that money to, get the Dak Prescott deal done and over with, so we don't have to talk about that anymore, and also address the defense, because we know that they still need a lot of help there on the defensive side of the ball.
Absolutely. And there's also another question that arises out of here is there's only one football. And like we've pointed out, there's three magnificent receivers that Dak can throw to. We can't
Mm-hmm.
leave out Zeke. And you and I, at least me, especially going down the season last year, where when they were giving Zeke the ball 25, 30 times, whether that's just straight handoff or a little pass out of the backfield, that team ran a lot differently. And in my opinion, ran better when you run through Zeke. And you've paid him a lot of fucking money. Use him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
with adding Lamb to this, I mean, it's going to make the offense better, hands down. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
is there going to be any backlash or turmoil from Zeke knowing his past with only having one football? I mean, that's something that none of us are going to know until the season starts. But it's something, at least in my eyes, it's worth keeping an eye on just to kind of take the temperature of the situation every now and again, and because I'm not saying Zeke's a baby, but he likes his touches, he likes his yards, he likes his touchdowns. Which, if you're one of his fantasy owners, you absolutely want that too. But with this team, especially with all the money they've dumped on the offensive line and everything else, you should be running the ball first to pass. And you have one of the top one or two running backs in the league. So is this gonna help open up that running game and let Zeke go absolutely crazy? Could possibly be. Or is the spread of the football around, is Zeke not going to get as many touches as he wants, and we'll see what happens there. But with this pick, there also comes another, I guess, in today's lack of sports, it was kind of a big headline, is he's deciding to wear number 88, which, if you're not a Cowboys fan, Michael Irvin and Des Bryant both wore 88, and there was a bunch of, I'm pretty sure it was everyone but Cowboys people were just like, oh my God, he's disrespecting the number and all this and that. And Michael Irvin said, go catch balls. I don't care what number you wear. I didn't see I didn't see what anyone asked Des, but yeah, Michael Irvin's like, I don't care what number he wears. Go catch footballs and win games. That's all I care about.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And you know what, and that's the way it has to be with Dallas. I'm sick of the, there's always, and it kind of comes with being the Dallas Cowboys and being America's team, but it just seems like there's always the drama around that team, whether they're winning or they're losing. And let's be honest, here in recent years they haven't done, they haven't performed the way that we're used to seeing Dallas perform. So. In my opinion, I don't really give a shit what number anybody wears or who gets the fucking ball. We got to start winning more football games and being more being relevant when playoffs come around. And got to get over that hump of, because right now, to me, especially here in this past decade, the Eagles have been kind of the powerhouse of that division. And I know powerhouse is really not the word to use, especially after the season that division had last year.
Right.
But the Eagles and the Giants, and they've really had the upper hand on Dallas here lately.
And yeah, the teams you just mentioned that are basically, especially like the Redskins and the Giants have kind of been on the back burner of that division, and now you look at the Giants got a whole lot better. The Redskins are getting
Mhm.
a whole lot better. The Eagles did okay. I mean, we'll get to one of their picks here in the next couple, but and then Dallas, they're redoing that, reshuffling this, and quite possibly should have the best offense out of any team in that division. However,
Oh, absolutely.
you're exactly right that the pathway through that division has gone through Philadelphia for the most part. So
Mhm.
everyone else is getting better. They haven't had the dominance they've had in that division in quite some time. So, and I have a very good feeling that the getting rid of Jason Garrett was probably the best step they could have taken. And they've got a very good coach in place now. How the draft went. Obviously, when McCarthy was with uh, the Packers, he didn't have that much input, I guess, on their selections. However, Jerry Jones took his advice and input into making his selections, and seems like everything is going very well for Mr. McCarthy in Dallas to start out his career there. So maybe that's the step. The first step in the right direction was addition by subtraction. Excuse me. Words are hard today, and so a whole new outset, a whole new regime, and just kind of refresh everything and see because, like you said, you're not making the playoffs. The only thing that you could be doing is getting a better draft pick, which Jerry Jones will not allow that to happen with as much money as he's puts into the team, the stadium, and everything like that. He wants a winner again, and I'm sure in in my opinion, McCarthy's a way better coach than Jason Garrett was. So Dallas fans are probably breathing a little bit of relief, and I have a feeling that they're going to be the ones taking over this division here in for the next foreseeable future, in my opinion. But we shall
Yep.
see. We shall see what happens on the field, my friend. Was there
Yep.
anything else you want to add to the CeeDee Lamb pick before we move on to the Dolphins?
No, that's all I got.
All right. Well, the Dolphins at pick 18 picked Austin Jackson, the tackle from USC. They traded up with, or they got a pick from Pittsburgh, and yeah, you just got Tua. Might as well get a tackle to help make sure he stays upright and stays healthy. So, not a big shocker there to me.
Nope. Nope. I mean, that's you got a guy like Tua that obviously injuries are the biggest concern there. I don't think anybody's really all that concerned with what Tua can do on the field when he's healthy. So they bring in some insurance after that to take care of him.
Yeah, like we talked about last week, the best ability is availability. So,
Yep.
moving on to 19, which should have been the Bears pick. So, the Las Vegas Raiders, and that's still very, very weird to say, took Damon Arnett, corner from Ohio State. Man, it seems like the entire defense from Ohio State got drafted.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the best defenses in college football
Yeah.
last year. Does not shock me one bit.
No. So, this is the set.
Obviously, the Lions got the other corner from Ohio State, and then Arnett going here. Both of them were legitimate first-round talents. Obviously, I think the kid that the Lions got, definitely one of the better corners. I think that the NFL, one of the better corner prospects that we've seen in quite some time. Talking about Jeff Okudah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Arnett's good. I mean, we watched a lot of Big Ten football games last year, and I know that there weren't very many teams that were passing on Ohio State and having very much success.
No. There wasn't a whole lot of success against Ohio State's defense, period. I mean,
No.
let's be perfectly honest, and maybe Ohio State's been known for their defensive draft picks and stuff like that. So that yet again another Ohio State corner being taken does not shock me at all. Doesn't shock me at all. So let's move on to Jacksonville at 20. They took an edge rusher from LSU named, I'm going to slaughter this name, Kalavin Chasen. I think that's
Yep.
pretty close. I think that's pretty close. And there we go. And this Jacksonville defense has never been, like we talked about before, it's never been the issue in Jacksonville is their defense, it's the offense. So if you can get an edge
Hmm.
rusher like this that obviously from LSU has a winning pedigree, and anything like that going to Jacksonville is a positive in my mind. And yeah, just stacking up on the defensive side. I mean, stick with what you're good at. Make it dominant. And Jacksonville has had a lot of change and turnover and stuff like that. And now you have the this edge rusher from LSU. So I don't see a problem in that pick at all. Do you?
No, no, he was actually one of the guys that with Dallas's pick, if Dallas would have went, because I think Dallas is in big time need of an edge rusher. He was one of the guys at the 17th pick that I was, kind of had my eyes on.
Yeah, and Dallas probably has the best linebacking core in the league, and then obviously the edge rushers just aren't getting there quite yet. The corners are a little bit not up to snuff, but yeah, that would have been a very good pick for Dallas as well. You're right. And then moving on to number 21, the Eagles took Jalen Reagor, receiver from Texas Christian. I have no idea who the fuck this kid is. I'll be straight out the gate. I have no idea. But the receiver.
No, I'm not going to sit here and I can't sit here and talk a whole lot about him and like I know who he is because I don't. But I do know that the Eagles definitely needed help at receiver.
Yes.
Especially
yes.
with, I know last year they had a ton of injuries at receiver, so that was an issue there. But they got a lot of receivers that are getting a little bit older.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite been in the league for a while, but older and can't really stay healthy and stay on the field for a full season. So them Eagles going wide receiver here, really no surprise at all.
Yeah, I just like I said, they must have saw something that I didn't. I'll be the first to admit I watched 0 TCU games this year. So this kid could be a huge fucking stud, but I would have went with the receiver, especially the way things have dropped so far. Excuse me. I would have went where the Vikings went, the pick after them at 22, and Justin Jefferson out of LSU.
Yep.
Maybe he's just a better, like a more well-known name to me and Tom, Dick, and Harry and everybody else, as opposed to Jalen's family. Of course, obviously knows how great he is, but to me, Joe Burrow threw a shit ton of touchdowns and threw a lot of them to this kid. So to me,
Yep.
and again, getting back to the LSU pedigree, they're winners. They know how to fucking win, and to me, that would seem like the safer pick just in name value alone. But like I said, the Eagles had their draft order, and then this kid must have tickled their fancy a little bit more than Mr. Jefferson did. So I.
Yeah, and let's be honest. I think that these NFL teams are doing a lot more scouting than the Turbo 2 are.
I mean,
I think obviously
we do our very good in-depth research. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, they actually get paid to do this. They actually get paid.
Yeah, and Justin Jefferson, obviously he's the bigger name here. They won a national championship, so we got to see a lot of them. But when you have Joe Burrow throwing you the football all season long, that definitely helps your case as a wide receiver.
Yeah, a little bit. And with I'm totally drawing a mind blank here. The receiver the Vikings traded. What's his name?
Stephon Diggs.
Yes, thank you. I knew it wasn't Sidney Rice. It was quite a few years ago. But with trading him and being able to bring over a Justin Jefferson, I think is a very, very good business move. And even though that trade did catch a lot of people by surprise, and there was some stuff in the background that I guess was happening, so addition by subtraction again maybe, and you're not locked up to that big money contract, and You get Mr. Jefferson there for 5 years or 4 years with a fifth year option at a whole lot cheaper price. So, and you still
Yep.
have Adam Thielen there too. So it's not like the cupboard's bare there for Kirk Cousins. So
Mhm.
number 23, the L.A. Chargers go linebacker Oklahoma Kenneth Murray. And the Chargers have a lot of holes. Let's be perfectly frank. And for a defensive player, probably not a bad move right here. I don't know too much about Mr. Murray, but the Oklahoma defense wasn't too bad. It wasn't your traditional Big 12, giving up 7,000 yards a game defense. But yeah, so like I said, the Chargers have a lot of holes, and I think this was a good step in filling one of those holes. What do you think?
Yep, totally agree. Obviously, I don't follow Big 12 very much. I know that because they don't play a whole lot of defense in that conference.
No.
But as far as looking at all the rankings on the kids, and talking about them as inside linebacker with really good speed and able to stop the run and all that, definitely something the Chargers could use.
Yes, absolutely. And then here's a bright spot for you 2Ks. The New Orleans Saints at 24 pick Cesar Ruiz, center from Michigan. The first Michigan boy off the board, which that was pretty cool. And I know Michigan's had their, especially last year, the beginning of the year, and even 2 years ago, the offensive line wasn't the greatest. But the longer that their new offensive coordinator was there, you could see the line coming together, and towards the, I guess at the beginning of this last year, Michigan had a pretty good running attack. Started out, what was it, the first 3 games? Charbonnet had 100 yards each game. Not a bad way to start, but towards the middle of the year, it kind of got, I don't know, maybe lost in the shuffle and, with the spread and everything else. And then once they got back to the run, which was, if you watch the Notre Dame game, they fucking thrashed Notre Dame's defense. And probably ever since then, and then the Penn State game, was it the Penn State? Like, this is the second half of the Penn State game. That Michigan offense clicked. And I think it started with the running game, which starts with the offensive line. Center is the captain of the offensive line, calling out all the changes and stuff. So, what better way to? I mean, you've got Drew Brees in there. He's not getting any younger. They signed Jameis Winston, which I thought was really weird. And so, offensive line is not and what else on the offense would you get if you're the Saints? You've got 2 badass receivers. You've got running back for days. You've got a quarterback. To me, I'm just bolstering that offensive line to make sure Drew Brees stays, upright is a good thing. And their offense, the firepower that the offensive has, puts up points. The defense last year for the Saints was probably the most shocking thing of the whole team, especially when Brees went down. That defense is probably the best defense that Drew Brees has ever had in New Orleans. So let's San Francisco 25 goes another wide receiver, and once we get down into the 20s, you can kind of see the receivers coming off the board at kind of a great pace here. San Francisco and Dustin Perry took Brandon Ayuk. I have no idea how to say his name, and I probably butchered it, but wide receiver from Arizona State, the Fighting Herm Edwards. So again, when you're addressing the Niners, this was probably the only position on the offense that really needed any bolstering. And you could say that even in the Super Bowl, that's, if they would have had one more standout receiver, that might have been the difference in the game. So this what little I know about this kid is he's very fast, can take the top off the defense, and Garoppolo's got a really, really good arm. So let's see if he can open up the field, get that stable of running backs just going, and see what happens from there. I mean, the Niners' offensive line is pretty stout. They have a million running backs and probably one of the best tight ends in the league. And not a bad pick, in my opinion. Not a bad pick at all. What do you think?
This is This is one of the best picks of the first round of this draft to me. I mean, you're taking, they have to be the favorite to make it back to the Super Bowl and come out of the NFC.
Absolutely.
And yeah, like you said, if there's a weakness that this team has, I think it's with that number 2 receiver to take some of the pressure off of Debo.
Yep.
And I think with this guy, obviously you have the top, 3 or 4 big name receivers in this draft. And I think that this kid was right there behind maybe that top 3 or 4. Talent-wise, I just don't think that, people talked about him as much because from Arizona State, and not very many people watch, where we're at here in the mid, a lot of West Coast football.
Right.
But I think that this kid he's going to be, obviously you got the big name receivers that were drafted early, but I think this kid stepping into the situation that he's stepping into, being on, arguably the best team in the NFL starting, the next season off, he might be the receiver that has the best year out of all of them. I actually would not shock me at all if he is the number 1 rookie wide receiver,
So you're going out on a limb and saying he's going to be the offensive rookie of the year?
I'm going out on a limb and saying that he has a very good shot at being there. I want to watch a couple of games before I make that.
Oh, you pussy. Well, pick 26, I think we can all agree is kind of the head scratcher of the first round. The Packers
I'm still scratching my head.
Yeah, excuse me. The Packers trade up to pick 26 and take quarterback Jordan Love out of Utah State. Now, you and I we've had some pretty good conversations about Mr. Love and how we think he's probably going to be a very, very good NFL quarterback, which I don't think anyone can argue. The only thing you can argue is, why did the Packers go up and get him at this pick? And why the Packers? And I'm pretty sure that everyone, even probably the biggest cheeseheads on the planet, are like, what the fuck are you doing? Especially just like you said, receivers are flying off the board. What is the one thing that Aaron Rodgers did not have last year? A fucking receiver, aside from Devontae Adams, which was hurt a little bit. All the other receivers were hurt. So you would think that with this crop of wide receivers, you would think that they would get Aaron Rodgers at least one receiver in the first couple rounds, which they did not. They drafted his replacement. Is pretty much what Jordan Love is going to be, is his replacement. I don't.
And you look at the NFL draft every single year, and you got to think like every single team in the draft, their goal is when the draft is over to be better.
Exactly.
And I can't say that about Green Bay as the one team in this entire draft that I can't say that they got. I don't think that they got any better in this draft.
No.
And I think about guys like Aaron Rodgers, who, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I have to be absolutely pissed over this. He has 4 more years left on his contract.
I think there's more than that.
It's not that he's the Aaron Rodgers of old who's breaking records every year, but he can still fucking play the position. And there's a lot of teams in the NFL that would be dying to have him playing quarterback for them.
He's still a top 5 quarterback regardless.
Absolutely. And for them not to address some wide receiver help, or if you don't want to use your first round pick on one of those wide receivers because it's a deep receiving class and you can catch one later. There was a lot of very good defensive names that were still on the board at that time, and their defense could use some help.
Or offensive line.
Yes. And I think about a guy like Devontae Adams, who Devontae Adams, in my opinion, is at least in the top 3 of wide receivers in the NFL. His biggest issue, though, he has to do everything on his own. He has no help at all. No help at all. You watch games week in, week out where Devontae's pulling double and triple teams everywhere he goes on the field. Mm-hmm. So you have to give him some help, and you don't. They didn't. Not only did they not draft a wide receiver in the first round, they didn't draft a fucking wide receiver in the entire draft.
Nope, you are 100% right. And with all these receivers, Mr. Rogers got none. None. And probably one of the coolest parts about this pick is Coach Matt LaFleur's son got immortalized on a meme, which I thought was pretty badass. So, which he was. The picture is Matt on the phone, obviously with whoever, probably the GM, and his son was not happy about that pick at all. So, excuse me, had my throat tickle a little bit there. So yeah, I mean, and that, of course, this has been the biggest headline in sports this last week. So even Favre came out and said that he pretty much expects Aaron Rodgers to finish his career somewhere else other than Green Bay. Maybe that's just because he did it, but I think the writing is pretty much on the wall now. Mm-hmm. We've seen, here's kind of the flip side here. We've seen with a number of teams here, probably go back to the Eagles when they won their Super Bowl, how important the backup quarterback is. Now, in my opinion, is the backup quarterback worth the 26th pick in the draft when you have Aaron Rodgers? No. But, and I'm not trying to say the Packers are right. I'm not trying to agree with them. I'm just trying to give it a whole nother avenue of thought here to kind of wrap my head around it and make a little sense in my brain. Jordan Love is probably the upside of him is through the roof. Is he gonna be a little bit of a project? Yes. He's very unpolished, but like I said, the kind of the risk reward is going to be huge if this kid puts everything together. That being said, if he sits behind Rodgers for a couple years, maybe that everything gets more polished and he can be the best Jordan Love he can be on the field, go in and just be a rock star, be a top 5 quarterback, then this is an amazing pick. But
if they were one game away from the Super Bowl last year though.
Oh,
they were a Final Four team in the NFL, and this is you're that close to punching your ticket to a Super Bowl, and you hit the next year's draft and you fucking go with a quarterback when you have 4 more years of Aaron Rodgers there.
No, yeah,
there's no way. People can sit here and try to make this make sense to me. And it does not make any sense at all to me. If I was a Packers fan, I would be fucking livid.
Oh, I 100% agree. I was just giving you I was trying to make sense of it in my brain. That's the only thing I could figure out. Do I agree with it? No. But yes, you're right. What were they? 13-3 last year, and you didn't really help your team, and everyone else got better. Do you really think you're going to be 13-3 again? No.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot go through this draft and walk out of this draft and be like, okay, we're ready to take a shot at San Francisco now. No, San Francisco, you have no chance with San Francisco.
And every team in that division got better except for the Packers. So the division got harder. You didn't get better. So I still think
they're the only team in the NFL that didn't get. Every team in the NFL got better except for them.
Do I still expect them to win the North there? Yes, I do. But is it going to be harder? Absolutely. Is Aaron Rodgers going to get hit more and probably throw more interceptions because he's trying to force everything? Yep. Is this bringing in a whole new quarterback going to cause a vibe between them or in the team and just bring a whole lot more negative energy around that? Absolutely. Is it going to be worth it? I don't think so. No. So yeah, that was the biggest head scratcher of round 1. We'll just kind of see here. There wasn't really towards the end here. There really wasn't a whole lot of. The Seahawks took Jordan Brooks, linebacker out of Texas Tech. The Ravens took Patrick Queen, LSU linebacker. The Titans, which it's really weird to see the Titans this late in the draft, which is pretty cool. They took Isaiah Wilson, tackle out of Georgia, which I think, you've got one of the best running backs in the league. Tannehill had a resurgent year, so anything you can do to help him stay upright and make holes for Derrick Henry, which Derrick Henry really doesn't need a whole lot of holes. He kind of makes them himself, but that's a really good pick in my opinion. Let's see. So there really wasn't anything else that jumped off the first. No. Uh, yeah. Dolphins took.
Kansas City Chiefs taking the first running back with the last pick of the first
Yeah.
round. I love that pick. I absolutely love that pick. He's just one of those guys that can catch the ball out of the backfield. Pretty much one of those guys that Andy Reid just loves to have.
Right.
It seems like he always has one on all of his teams. And I think that, part of the kind of the plan with that, them going and signing Shady McCoy last year was hopefully for him to, to be that guy that can catch the ball in the backfield. And I think Shady's, obviously the best years of Shady are behind,
Yes.
are over now. So them getting this kid from LSU, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I probably totally botched that name.
I'm glad you took that, not me.
I think he was just kind of I think a lot of people kind of, overlooked him when they were watching LSU because of, Joe Burrow, obviously, and then all the wide receiving threats that they had. But I think that the running back there was overlooked a little bit. But I think that he plays in maybe not the most talented do-it-all running back in this draft because I think that some of those guys that went off in the second round are a little bit more talented than this kid. But I think as far as playing into Kansas City's offense, this kid's going to have a lot of success.
Now, did I see that the Chiefs signed your boy Patterson? I think I saw a ESPN alert come through that Shea Patterson signed with.
Oh yeah,
with
that
the
did
Chiefs.
happen.
Well,
I didn't see that.
Let's jump through kind of some of the top picks here in the second round. We're not going to go pick by pick on this one, 2K crew, but Bengals start out the second round with Clemson wide receiver T. Higgins. I think that's an amazing piece.
I wonder what Green Bay didn't see in that kid.
Right, exactly. I mean, you just got your new quarterback. You might as well get him some toys to play with. So, and AJ Green hopefully can come back and be, like we said last week, can be one of the top 5 receivers again. You got Mixon at running back. This just makes all the sense to me. Like I said, you just bought you just got your new quarterback. Might as well get him some new toys. Mm-hmm. And the Lions at pick 35, in my opinion, get one of the top 2 running backs in the country. I think both you and I are probably one of the top 3.
I have him as a top. I think he's the best back in the draft.
And our boy JT and JK. I mean, those guys are right there. I think everyone pretty much had them 1, 2, and 3 in whatever order that you wanted. But like we were talking about with the Lions last week, you get your defensive help. It's not the sexy pick. I think they got a very sexy pick at pick 35, and it's a need that the Lions have had since forever. Is a 1,000-yard rusher.
They haven't had a running back for Matthew Stafford ever.
No.
I mean, no. When's the last time they had a 1,000-yard rusher? It's just they have to take some of the pressure off of Stafford.
Yes.
And there's no better way to do that than to develop a running game. I love the pick. I think he was the best running back in the draft, and I think that him and Kerryon Johnson will be a very good 1-2 punch.
Yeah, and DeAndre Swift can catch the ball out of the backfield. I mean, he's coming from that high-powered Georgia offense that once they got towards the end of the year, and Fromm was vibing with the receivers, that team pretty much hit a new gear after that really stupid loss. But yeah, like you said, he's a dynamite back. I'm glad the Lions did not fuck this pick up. I mean, this is another pick, Lions fans. You cannot argue with me that they fucked this up.
Nope.
If I'm a Lions fan and it means Stafford only has to throw for 4,000 yards and we win 13 games, I'm happy with that because some of the production's coming from the running game, which hasn't been there forever. So to spend and to get this kid in the second round, not a bad pick, not a bad pick at all. Not a bad pick at all. Let's cruise down this list a little further. Speaking of running backs, the Colts took our boy JT, Jonathan Taylor, which I think that's a very, very awesome addition to that. Even though you do have Marlon Mack there, um, I like the pick. I do. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to fit in very, very well with that Indianapolis team. What do you think?
I absolutely love they went to trying to run the ball a lot more last season. Then they were able to get quite a bit of success. Mack had a very good season last year, but I think that they were in need to bring in another guy, and because that's what we're seeing around the NFL. There's not a lot of teams anymore that are only going with one back. You see, there's very few running backs that can handle that workload. You have an Ezekiel Elliott that can do that, basically take all the carries in the game, but to bring in another guy, especially a talent like Jonathan Taylor, I'm very excited to see that. He's gonna get a lot of chances.
I think so too. And let's we haven't talked too much about the Bears draft because we drafted Khalil Mack again this year. But our first pick was pick 43 in the second round. Now, I'm kind of conflicted on this pick. And 2Ks, I know you understand why I'm conflicted. The first Notre Dame boy comes off the board. Cole Kmet, tight end. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with Kmet, but the Bears, an offense that doesn't throw to the tight end, or at least Mitch doesn't throw to a tight end. You take the best tight end in the draft. Now, as a Bears fan, that might let you read into it to like, all right, well, if they're not, if Mitch doesn't throw to the tight end, Foles does. Does that mean Foles is going to start? Does that mean they have plans to start Mr. Foles? Because it's come out now that they declined Mitch's fifth year, which doesn't shock me at all. But I think the only rationale as a Bears fan, like I said, is Nick Foles going to start the season? Do they expect him to play more of the season? Because either that or Mitch is going to go on fire, and it's going to be because of this kid, because he's going to be that safety blanket. I'm not comparing him to Gronkowski by any means, but he can be, Gronkowski, TB12, Cole Kmet, Mitch Trubisky. It seems like every
that
good
shit ain't fucking happening.
But
Come on now.
it seems like every good quarterback has a good tight end. Peyton Manning had a bunch of them. But no, this is not going to change.
Not going to be Gronk.
No, hell no.
And Mitch Trubisky, if you ever mention him in the same sentence as Tom Brady again, I'm going to quit on the spot. Jesus. But no, talking about Foles, it would not shock me if Foles actually wins that job.
Well, it's
and
not
is the starting quarterback of that team. I think a lot of people.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
I think he's better than people think. And you look back a couple of years, and he did win a Super Bowl with the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that last year he was really given a legitimate shot because you see the injury that happens right at the very beginning of the season, and I think everything was just lost right there. He never was really given that shot again. You have what's his name there that he kind of come out of nowhere in Jacksonville.
Minshew,
the quarterback with them. Yeah,
Minshew
kind of comes out of nowhere. It kind of steals the spotlight, and Foles was never really to get back on his feet again. And I think him getting a change of scenery again and getting into Chicago, I think he's gonna get a legitimate shot. I'm not saying that he's gonna win the job, but I think he has a shot, and it would not shock me one bit if he is the starter there in Chicago.
Oh, I have a very good feeling if Mitchie starts out the season, he won't be there too long. Mm-hmm. Won't be there too long. But now that I got you fucking fired up, 2Ks, let's go. Well, let's kind of fast forward to another. What a lot of people and myself is probably, like I said, the next head scratcher that on the surface doesn't really make sense. But once you look, I guess it could work. And is pick 53, the Eagles take Oklahoma quarterback Jalen Hurts. Now you can look at this one of two ways. One, Carson Wentz has hurt a lot. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The Eagles saw how important a backup quarterback is. Obviously, we were just talking about him and Nick Foles. So bringing in Jalen Hurts, I think Jalen Hurts is going to be probably. I'm not going to say he's going to end up being the best quarterback out of this draft. I think he's going to be the most surprising quarterback out of this draft, and at some point make a huge impact in the National Football League. But the Eagles, I think, is still like a okay. Um, get totally doing another mind blank here. The quarterback down there in New Orleans, not Drew Brees, Taysom Hill. Yep, there we go. Maybe in a role like that, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. To me,
Yeah.
Taysom Hill's a little bit better of an athlete, I think. But I highly doubt you're going to see Jalen Hurts running down the field on kickoff coverage and punt coverage and stuff like that. But to have to have a special package for him that every team that you face has to take time and get ready for, I think is going to be huge. And like I said, it's going to come down to Carson Wentz, how healthy he is. Can he actually finish a season, for fuck's sake? Because I have a feeling even though they paid him a lot of money, if it so happens the next couple of years where Hurts is playing more than him, I have a feeling he's going to be out of a job. Because I think Jalen Hurts is that good that he'll take over Wentz's job there if given enough chances. And Wentz's health issues have historically provided time for other players. So that's what I think in this.
Yeah.
I'm still not sold on the pick to Philly, but the more I think about it, I think in the long run it's going to be a good pick. And unlike the Packers trading up to get their player in the first round, this is kind of a more like we were talking about Dallas and the value pick with CeeDee Lamb. I think this is a value pick for the Eagles. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like it. I like it because you have a coach there and Doug Peterson, who is kind of comparable to some of those brilliant offensive minds. You think of a Sean Payton and being able to do what he does with Taysom Hill there. And I see Hurts being able to kind of take that role. They might have a special package for him, and I think that Peterson will be able to set him up to have some success. As far as ever being a starting quarterback, when you have Carson Wentz there, I get it. Carson Wentz has been hurt, but when Carson Wentz is healthy, I think that he's a legitimate top 5 quarterback in the NFL. And I just don't. I think the injuries are behind him. I think he's going to be just fine. I look at kind of a guy, Lions fans with Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford was injured a lot in the beginning of his career, and then these are professional athletes, and they have professional trainers, and they're able to figure out things and ways to keep guys, especially the highest paid players on your team, healthy and make sure that they can play a full season and be consistent. And to me, Carson Wentz, he's just too goddamn good. There's no way that I could see anybody taking over his job.
I've always been a huge Carson Wentz fan. I really have. I want to see him succeed. I'm not saying that I don't, but given enough chances, I think this kid might just kind of push him out. And it's not going to be this year. It's not going to be next year. It's going to be a whole accumulation effect, if you will. And but like I said, Philly fan, any of you Philadelphia Eagles fans, drop in the comments. What do you think? I'm kind of 50-50 on it. I can be swayed either way, but I'm kind of 50-50 on it. If we skip ahead a couple picks, in my opinion, the team that killed this draft is the Baltimore Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't think that there'd be much that they could add to that team to make it even better, but they did. They did.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about two of the top running backs. Well, here's the third one, J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah.
He's going to be that nice change, not a change of pace back, but your quote unquote thunder and lightning, if you will, with Mark Ingram there in the backfield, and giving them just a whole other chapter of playbook that team is. And I'm almost positive the Ravens are going to try to take some of the running plays away from Lamar Jackson just to help keep him healthy. And this is, in my opinion, the perfect player in the perfect situation for the perfect team. And
Mm-hmm.
this one, I mean, the Ravens hit this pick out of the park, hands down,
Yeah,
hands
absolutely.
down.
Absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. And I think by the middle of next season, I think Dobbins, as long as he's healthy and everything, I think he will be the number one back. And then you have a guy, Mark Ingram, coming behind him.
Oh yeah.
But I just think that as far as being a featured back, I think J.K. Dobbins has a lot more, running back tools. He can kind of do it all, to where Mark Ingram's more of a north and south runner.
Yeah, and it's not taking anything away from Ingram. He's more the battering ram. Has been hit
Mm-hmm.
in his entire career. Hell, you rewind a year previous when he's with the Saints, and then Kamara came on, and like, holy shit, these two guys are, just a two-headed monster that is gonna. One of them's gonna just bowling ball your ass over. The other one's gonna, can still run between the tackles, but is the speed on the outside and catch balls out of the backfield, and that's exactly what J.K. Dobbins can do. So, I think the perfect pick. Baltimore really didn't have any holes. They really didn't.
No.
Could they have added maybe another receiver? Sure, but again, I think it comes down to the value pick, and Dobbins sitting there probably helps him out more than adding a wide receiver at this point, especially in the second round. So, but yeah, that's the I kind of gave you my winner, like the overall winner of this draft, and in your eyes, 2Ks, which team or teams kind of stole the show in this first ever virtual NFL draft?
Well, my number, who I had ranked number one, I agree with you. I think Baltimore Ravens were the number one team as far as improving themselves after this draft. They were right there, very legitimate Super Bowl contender last season. But they improved themselves, and it would not shock me if they are able to. If they were playing in the Super Bowl next season, would not shock me at all. But so you pick them, so I'm going to pick a different team, and I'm going to pick my own team in the Dallas Cowboys. And to me, they addressed everything that I thought going into this draft that they needed to address. I think that they got one of the best wide receivers in a loaded wide receiver class in the first round in CeeDee Lamb. But then they came back in the second round, got a playmaking defensive back in Trevon Diggs, who was actually Stephon Diggs, who was traded from the Vikings to the Bills, younger brother, cornerback from Alabama. And then they addressed the defensive line in the third round. They picked up another corner in the fourth round, and then they traded up to get a center from Wisconsin. And we know the success that Wisconsin, especially, or pretty much all Big Ten offensive linemen have.
Yep.
But
Absolutely.
Wisconsin is kind of the powerhouse of offensive linemen in the Big Ten. So they shored up their center position. Obviously, we know that Travis Frederick retired just before the draft. He's another Wisconsin graduate. So they were able to shore up that and land the center, and then they landed an edge rusher from Utah, who a lot of people were saying is kind of the steal of the draft there, being able to get him. Talking about Bradley Ane, I think that's the way you pronounce the last name. But they were able to get him in the fifth round, and a lot of people had him going off the board in rounds 2 or 3. So to me, right there, Dallas is making a bid for possibly being the best team coming out of this draft. So I'm giving the Cowboys love. I know everybody's gonna be like, oh yeah, 2K's picking this Cowboys. But I mean, pretty much everything I read, the Cowboys are right there. A lot of people are saying the Ravens, but there's a lot of people that are also saying the Cowboys.
There was a lot of hubbub coming out after this. That there was a lot of analysts that were shocked. This is probably one of the best drafts that Jerry Jones has ever had, and a lot of them were, I'm sure if this draft pans out the way everyone expects, I'm pretty sure Jerry Jones, will probably continue to do drafts from his yacht. And I don't blame him. If I have a yacht that badass, I'm gonna draft from it. And but what as far as the draft went, leading up to this, there's a lot of things to where people were saying, especially they had the dry run and there was some stuff that fucked up with the virtual draft. I really didn't see any hiccups. I didn't see any downfalls. Maybe the only downfall would have been, which we'll never really know the story, but there might have been a lot less trades because of the virtual draft. But overall, I give the virtual draft an A. I liked it. I'm not giving it an A plus because everyone wants to see these guys on the biggest, best stage. I get that. But in my opinion, I thought it was cooler to see them at their house with their family and friends and shit like that. I thought that was even cooler than actually being at the draft. However, I know the players are still going to want to be at the draft, walk across the stage, dap up the commish, and do their interviews and stuff like that, which is fine. But I thought this was really cool and more personal. And it added that just a little bit more kind of sentimental touch and stuff like that. And overall, I was very pleased. And maybe that's me, coming from me because there's not any. This was one of the only few sports things going on, but I thought it was really cool the way they did it. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, going into this, I was listening to a bunch of different podcasts, and they were all talking about it. And I think that it was kind of like a lot of us were in a situation where it was like it didn't really matter what happened out of it. We were going to get sports, and that was really all we cared about. But to me, I think it went over a lot better than I ever would have imagined. I thought there was going to be a lot of hiccups. I thought that there was going to be times where they may have had to stop the draft time to be able to get picks in. I thought maybe coaches and GMs, you'd start to see a little panic out of them, and really. The only thing that you did see was Bill O'Brien screaming and yelling over some situation that I don't think anybody even really knows what happened there.
No.
But Bill O'Brien's fucked up enough shit this offseason, so him fucking up at the draft really doesn't surprise anybody.
No, not at all. Not at all. And what was weird is that I did a Zoom call with a few buddies, and I don't think you were there, 2Ks, but that's okay. But it seemed like, and we all saw this, that the picks would be in, and ESPN was dragging it out. And I was like, well, they have a certain amount of time slated for each pick, so of course they're all programmed for this. This is what they're doing. It doesn't matter when the pick is in; it's when they decide they're going to announce it. So that was kind of the only weird thing, I guess. But to me, I was like, you know what? It doesn't, because it would say at the bottom of the screen, pick is in. And they're still talking about the last pick and keep talking about the last pick. And I'm like, they have this slotted out for a reason, dickhead. This is what they're doing. If every team gets their pick in as soon as the next pick is done, the whole first two rounds are going to last 18 minutes, not 2.5 hours. So calm the fuck down. Maybe it's just like I said, we haven't had sports. This is the only sports we've had. We want to fuck it right now, but you kind of have to wait. You don't want them to jam pack the first 18 minutes of a 2-hour show and then listen to Trey Wingo for the next 2 hours. That's not the way that shit works. I'm sorry. But yeah, other than that, which to me it really didn't make that big of a difference. These talking heads on ESPN are going to talk about the pick anyway. So. Like I said, I liked it. I liked it a lot. It was a nice change of pace. I liked the personal touch with everything. So I liked it. But like I said, this is by no means, I have a feeling by no means is going to be the norm for the NFL draft going forward, just because they want to put on a show. They want to make more money. And they've already, next year's is going to be in Cleveland. The following year's is going to be in Vegas. So bigger, better things are coming, ladies and gentlemen. And it's going to be the draft party that we're all used to, and we'll look back at this one and be like, yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And if you were a part of it, you're probably going to be a part of something very unique. So even though it sucks you didn't get to dap up the commish, you still got to be on the only probably gonna end up being the only NFL draft that's done virtually. So probably go down in history, motherfuckers. Well, 2Ks, did we miss anything? Any last thoughts? I know you're still have a hard on about the Cowboys draft, which you should. Any other loose ends we need to tie up here? I don't. I'm looking over things. I don't see anything else that we missed here, brother. And it's perfect time because we're at that hour mark. So 2K crew, gonna wrap this week's show up with you know what's coming to you. Drop Anchor Tavern 269-646-2525. Go on their Facebook, look at their menu, order up a burger, chicken strips, anything that they got. The pepper jack cheese cubes are absolutely amazing. Give them a call. They support us, so we're going to support them. Tell them Turbo and 2K sent your ass. And for that ass, Jim Rome, we're still coming for you.